So as I work on part 4, what I think I'll probably do is I'm going to set up a chart. So here's my blank document. I'm going to insert some kind of a table just so I can set up a chart so that way I have my quotes. So I want my arguments, sorry about that, for dropping the bomb. And then down here I'll have my arguments against. Sorry about that quick little pause there, and I added some extra rows down here so I'd have room for my 5 arguments here. But anyway, I've got this. I'm just going to do some housekeeping here real quick. I'm going to merge the cells so I can keep these as headers for me, and it's just an easier way for me to kind of look at this stuff. I'm going to center line this and just, kind of clean some house a little bit here. And then I can number these, but so let's say I'm going to take my first argument, and then here's my second argument, right? Third argument, and I'll show you what I'm going to kind of do here. And let's say I've got 4, 5, right? And I can do that same thing here. There, so I've got my arguments ready to go here. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go to my article, right? And as I read through this article, it gives me some information about what's going on at the time, how things are going. You'll want to read through this information here because it gives you the background and the setup for it. And then we start getting into deciding to drop the bomb, right? And it starts to talk about the different reasons in favor or why we should have dropped the bomb or the rationale behind that, right? And so I want to capture these different arguments and have some evidence prepared in case I decide to use this in my essay. So leading up, right, he wanted to end the war as quickly as possible with the fewest U.S. casualties. Okay, so there's one. Walker notes 5 reasons why Trump chose to use the bomb. Ending the war at the earliest possible moment. Okay, and then he gives us a little bit of extra information. The primary objective for the U.S. was to win the war at the lowest possible cost. Specifically, Truman was looking for the most effective way to end the war quickly, not for a way not to use the bomb. Okay, and so I'm going to use this in some way to capture this information, right? And so I want to pull the quotes that make the most sense to me that I could use later in my essay to support my stance if I decide, yes, it is a good idea to drop the bomb, right? So clearly ending the war at the earliest possible moment. So maybe I want to quote this, so I can just copy this. Let me go back here. I'm going to put in quote. Let me paste that in, earliest possible moment, and then you know what, there's other parts of this, right, that I might want. Lowest possible, win the war at the lowest possible cost. Okay, so maybe I want that also, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that here in just a second. So I'm going to go down here. I don't really want that number, and I'm going to quote this. Lowest possible cost, and then over here I'm going to describe what's going on. There was a potential, I guess was a potential large number of troops that might lose their lives. Also, it costs a lot to fight war in terms of the dollar and cents costs. If you can just drop a bomb and end the war, then you will save a lot of lives and save a lot of money on lost equipment. right? Things like that. So there's kind of my rationale and analysis behind it. But now I've got these quotes, so I'm going to use that some way. I might even want to include up here how I'm going to introduce this. So if here's my analysis, remember once again, I want to integrate. And so ending the war at the earliest possible moment, there was a push to, quote, this is maybe where I want to put this in, right? In the war, push to end the war at the earliest possible moment, and at, quote, the lowest possible cost. Right? So now what I've got here is my quotes. I've inserted them, and then I've gone on to explain and analyze this as a reason why. And let me just bold this so we can make it stand apart. This should not be bold. Okay, but that gives me my quotes that I wanted, and then the rest of my analysis, and I'm ready to go to the next one. Right? So then I would go in to the next to justify the cost of the Manhattan Project. Right? Manhattan Project was a secret program to which the U.S. had funneled an estimated almost $1 billion, almost $2 billion through this time. Right? That's a lot of money to build something that you'll never use, and people view that as wasted money. So maybe I'm going to look at that to justify the cost of the Manhattan Project, quote, and then I'll probably want this also, right, as a number that I can quote and somehow weave that in here. And so those quotes would go over here, and then I could write about it over here. And then that way I've got my evidence, I've got my analysis, it helps me, I'm ready to go to write my paper later when we get to use this evidence and that kind of thing. It just kind of sets me up in a good way. So that's what I would do for the 5 arguments for and the 5 arguments against.